Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the March 26, 2025 Board of Public Education and for Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh Mount Oliver Intermediate Unit Legislative Meeting. Would everyone please rise so we can salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will begin tonight's meeting with the Pittsburgh Mount Oliver Intermediate Unit. Mr. Weiss, can we please have a roll call?
Barker.
We cannot hear you, Mr. Weiss.
Really?
I can hear Ira. Can you not hear anyone on Zoom?
We can hear you just a little. Maybe we just need the volume on the TV turned up a little.
I'm having trouble with my computer. Can you hear me?
We can hear you just fine, Mr. Udine. How about Mr. Weiss, you try again? It seems like everybody else is working.
Okay, can you hear me now?
There we go. Thank you.
Thanks very much. So let's call the roll. Mr. Barker?
Present.
Ms. Petrosky?
Here.
Dr. Reed?
Here.
Ms. Silk?
Here.
Stella Farrow?
Here.
Mr. Udine? Here. Ms. Wilson?
Here.
Ms. Eward?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Here.
All members present.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Will board members please turn to the minutes from February 26, 2025? Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions? All right. Hearing none, I'd like to have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the February 26, 2025 legislative meeting for the Pittsburgh Mount Oliver Intermediate Unit.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Petrosky and Mr. Barker. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes stand approved. The committee report on business and finance, including agenda items 25.01 through 26.02 are before you. Are there any questions or comments on this report? Seeing no questions, can I have a motion and a second for a vote?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Barker and Ms. Silk. Mr. Weiss, can you please call the vote?
Barker?
Yes.
Ms. Petrosky?
Yes.
Dr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Silk?
Yes.
Stella Farrow?
Yes.
Mr. Udine? Yes. Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Eward?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
All voted in favor.
Thank you. Item 27.01 is the Pittsburgh Mount Oliver Intermediate Unit Personnel Report for March 26, 2025. Are there any questions or comments on this report? Hearing none, can I have a motion and a second for a vote?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Ms. Petrosky and Dr. Reed. Mr. Weiss, can you please call the vote?
Barker?
Yes.
Petrosky?
Yes.
Dr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Silk?
Yes.
Stella Farrow?
Yes.
Mr. Udine? Yes. Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Eward?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
All in favor.
Thank you. Item 28.01 is the Pittsburgh Mount Oliver Intermediate Unit Travel and Finance Report for February 2025. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing no further questions or comments, can I have a motion and a second to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson and Ms. Dr. Reed. Is that correct? All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. I would now like to call the March 26, 2025 meeting of the Pittsburgh Public Schools to order. Mr. Weiss, can you please call the roll?
Parker,
Present.
Ms. Petrowski,
Here.
Dr. Reed,
Here.
Ms. Silk,
Here.
Ms. Talaferro,
Here.
Mr. Dean. Here. Ms. Wilson,
Here.
Ms. Jord,
Here.
Mr. Walker.
Here.
All members present.
Thank you. Will board members please turn to the minutes? Today we'll be approving the minutes for the February 26, 2025 legislative session. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions? Hearing none, can I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Petrowski and Ms. Talaferro. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The minutes stand approved. At this time, I'd like to read the executive session statement. In addition to the executive sessions announced at the legislative meeting of February 26, 2025, the board met in executive session on March 14, 2025, March 19, 2025, and immediately prior to this legislative meeting to discuss various personnel matters that may include but are not limited to administrative vacancies and positions opened and closed. The board does not vote at executive session. All right. The committee report on education is before you, submitted by Dr. Tracy Reed, chairperson, and the committee. The report includes agenda items 5.01 through 8.15. If you would please turn to agenda item 8.15, I'd like to give you the student expulsion numbers for this month. For this last month, 5 students were expelled out of school for 11 or more days. Under the education section, there were no items noted for further discussion at agenda review. Are there any additional questions or concerns at this time? Ms. Petrowski?
Thank you, Mr. Walker, and I apologize for not sending an email earlier. For item 8.14, policy 1001.1, which is our public participation in board meetings, we did receive some feedback within that 30-day window, and I would like to recommend a slight amendment to just add a clause within the policy that allows for both in-person and virtual speakers to have their names called again if they miss their name being called the first time, which is a standard practice that we already do. But we did have a request to have that in writing so that it becomes part of the standard practice. So I would like to introduce that as a slight amendment to 8.14.
Thank you, Director Sook. Mr. Weiss, is this an amendment that we need to vote on separately?
Yes, I would recommend someone second Ms. Petrowski's motion.
Second.
Call the roll on that, and then if it passes, that'll be part of the board action.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second for an amendment to item 8.14 that would add language allowing speakers who miss their turn during the public hearing, both in person and virtual, to be called again at the end if they show up late. Great.
Who
Or
has
if they,
seconded that
well, maybe
motion?
if they don't show up late, if they miss their turn and then ultimately show up, they will be allowed to participate at the end of the scheduled hearing. Does that make sense, Mr. Weiss?
Yes, was there a second to that?
Yeah, so it was moved by Ms. Petrosky, second by Ms. Talaferro.
Okay.
Is there any comments from board members before we vote on this amendment? All right, seeing none, Mr. Weiss, can you please call the vote?
Okay, we're voting on that amendment that was just described. Mr. Barker,
Yes.
Petrosky,
Yes.
Dr. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Silk,
Yes.
Talaferro,
Yes.
Mr. Udine,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Yord,
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Okay, so the item 8.14 then is amended as described, and the vote on the report will include that change.
Thank you. If there are no other comments on the education section, I will entertain a motion and a second to approve this report.
Second.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Petrosky and Ms. Talaferro. Mr. Weiss, can you please call the vote?
Barker,
Yes.
Petrosky,
Yes.
Dr. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Silk,
Yes.
Ms. Talaferro,
Yes.
Mr. Udine,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Yord,
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Board's approved unanimously.
Thank you. The committee report on business and finance is before you, submitted by Ms. Emma Yord, chairperson and the committee. The report includes agenda items 9.01 through 12.08. There were no items noted for further discussion in the business section at agenda review. Are there any questions or comments at this time that were not answered? Mr. Joseph.
Item 12.02 is being pulled from the agenda. Item 12.02 is being pulled from the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph. For those listening, item 12.02 is the Manchester Chateau TRID will be pulled from the agenda and brought back at a later date. Ms. Silk?
Thank you. I just wanted to share back out that I got an answer to my agenda review regarding Board Tab 12.01. I asked if the Department of the Army personnel would be in uniform while conducting surveys at Arsenal and when that work was expected to be done. And the answer was that they will not be in uniform while conducting the surveys, and the expected time frame is the week of spring break.
Excellent. Director Yord?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Walker. I just want to speak into the public record that the reason for pulling the agenda item 12.02, the Manchester Chateau TRID, was to allow additional time for board member discussion in public meetings. As we all know, a lot of our public discussion for this month has been dominated by other agenda items. So our plan is to reintroduce this at the April meeting after board members have had a chance to review more of the material around the TRID and discuss it publicly and have questions answered. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there are no further questions or comments, can I have a motion and a second to vote on the committee report on business and finance?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Talaferro and Ms. Silk. Mr. Weiss, can you please call the roll, or the vote?
Barker,
Yes.
Petrosky,
Yes.
Dr. Reed,
Yes.
Talaferro,
Yes.
Sorry, Ms. Silk,
Yes.
Mr. Dean?
I have a question. Should I save it until a later time, or can I raise it now?
Is it on this report?
Yes.
I'll defer to Mr. Walker, but I think now would be the time to raise it.
Yes, Mr. Udine, go ahead and ask your question.
My question is, when will the board have an opportunity to discuss this item in depth?
Are you talking about the Manchester Chateau TRID?
I am, yes.
Okay, yeah, we expect to have further conversation at our upcoming, right after our upcoming budget workshop on April the 7th. And then again, we will have discussion at agenda review at the end of April.
Thank you.
And if that answers your question, I believe you're on the clock.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Yord?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Report's approved.
All right, we will now move on to the Human Resources Report. It includes agenda items 13.01 through 14.11, including addendums A and B, submitted by Ms. Sylvia Wilson, chairperson in the committee. Are there any questions or comments on this report? Hearing no questions, can I have a motion and a second
So moved.
for a vote?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson and Mr. Barker. Mr. Weiss, can you please call the vote?
Barker?
Yes.
Oski?
Yes.
Dr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Silk?
Yes.
Stella Farrow?
Yes.
Mr. Dean?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Yord?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Report's approved unanimously.
All right. I'd like to call your attention to item 16.01, which is the financial statements, and 16.02, the controller's report for the month ending December 31st, 2024, and January 31st, 2025. Mr. Joseph?
I just wanted to point out that we have item 15.01 under budget matters, which is the general fund budget transfer.
We will go back to that one. I didn't see that. My apologies. Excellent. All right. So we will go back one step to agenda item 15.01. Mr. Weiss, is this a vote, roll call vote, or just an up and down?
Roll call vote.
All right. Can I have a motion and a second for a vote on item 15.01?
Sorry.
Or,
can I ask a
excuse me,
question about it?
maybe I should stop and ask if there are any questions or comments on 15.01. Mrs. Petrosky.
Thank you. Yes, I just want to request if Mr. Joseph can provide a brief explanation to the public of what this item is, please.
Sure. When the board approves the budget, we are bound within the amount that you approved at the individual object level. So whenever we want to move any monies around that are beyond that appropriation, we have to do a budget transfer. So this is the year-end transfer that cleans up any negative appropriations in those major objects. Plus, it also provided funding to do a year-end transfer to our capital projects fund and general liability fund.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Do you have a, okay. All right, if there are no other questions or comments, can I have a motion and a second for a vote on 15.01?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Talaferro and Director Petrosky. Mr. Weiss, can you please call the vote?
Okay, this is on 1501, the transfer. Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Petrosky?
Yes.
Dr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Silk?
Yes.
Talaferro,
Yes.
Udine,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Yord,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
1601 is approved unanimously.
All right. We will now go back to item 16.01, the financial statements, and 16.02, the controller's report for December 31st, 2024, and January 31st, 2025. Are there any questions or comments on these reports? All right, we will then move on to item 16.03, which is the EBE report. Are there any questions or comments on this report? Excellent. All right. Next item is a new business item, item 17.01. This is an agreement between the district and the Pittsburgh Building, Trade, and Construction Council. Are there any questions or comments on this item? If I could, Ms. Rudolph, is the length of this contract, is this a 3-year, okay, this is a new 3-year contract with the Building and Trade Construction Council. Wonderful. Seeing no other questions, can I have a motion and a second for a vote?
So
I
moved.
gladly move that we approve this contract.
All right.
Sorry. You can second it.
Second, after Sylvia.
Thank you with enthusiasm, Ms. Wilson, and thank you, Ms. Talaferro. Mr. Weiss, can you please call the vote?
Parker,
Yes.
Ostrowski,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Silk,
Yes.
Talaferro,
Yes.
Udine,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Ward,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
That's approved. The contract is ratified.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. The next item is a new business item, agenda item 17.02. This is a resolution to authorize Weiss Burkhart Kramer LLC to work as co-counsel in the matter of Marie Weber versus the City of Pittsburgh. Are there any questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, can I have a motion and a second to vote on item 17.02?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Barker and Ms. Talaferro. Mr. Weiss, can you please call the vote?
Parker,
Yes.
Ostrowski,
Yes.
Dr. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Silk,
Yes.
Talaferro,
Yes.
Udine,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Yord,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Item is approved unanimously. Thank you.
Next item is a new business item, agenda item 17.03, a resolution to consider the permanent closing of certain Pittsburgh public schools. Dr. Walters, you would like to make a comment?
Yes, thank you, President Walker. Last month, at the request of our board, we conducted a feasibility study of the recommendations presented by our district consultant, Education Resource Strategies. These recommendations were not developed in isolation. They were informed by significant community engagement involving thousands of stakeholders, including students, staff, families, community members, executive leadership, and the board. As part of our feasibility review shared last month, we examined building capacity, enrollment projections, and infrastructure readiness. Since presenting the study, we've heard clearly from our board that more information is needed. As previously shared, it has always been our intention to provide both the board and the public with additional information before bringing any plan forward for a vote. We also remained open to further changes based on input from the board and the community. At the same time, I recognize that we cannot overlook the impact that the erosion of trust has had on our relationship with members of the Pittsburgh Public Schools community. And while this erosion has a long history, I fully accept the responsibility of helping to repair it. And so with that in mind, this evening we are pulling item 17.03 from the agenda to allow more time to update our feasibility report. And this update will incorporate the additional information requested by the board, including a financial analysis, a preliminary transportation plan, and a review of capital investments to inform a final set of recommendations and a proposed phasing plan for the board's consideration. We've already begun this work and will present the updated information publicly to the board shortly. Also, we will present a final recommendation for a demographer to complete a demographic study to inform the development of attendance zones, which are the geographic boundaries that determine what schools students attend. As part of our facilities utilization plan, we introduced 12 bold recommendations aimed at optimizing the district's facilities to create more equitable and enriching educational environments for all students. I want to emphasize to the board and the public that this vision challenges us to move beyond the status quo. As your superintendent, I am compelled to create a system that provides high-quality education for all. While I celebrate the spaces where it works, I must continually strategize to create a system that works for all. We must confront and dismantle the inequities that persist in our system, inequities that too often provide access and opportunity for some rather than uplift the needs of all. And now is the time to take this decisive action to ensure that every school is a place of opportunity where every student has access to the resources, tools, and experiences they need to succeed. Right now, we operate 5 schools with fewer than 149 students, and 16 schools with fewer than 249 students. These small schools limit our ability to provide the basic offerings of a well-rounded education, much less implement innovative programs and offerings that create the spaces of joy we envision for our students. I love the Pittsburgh Public Schools. I have dedicated more than 30 years of my life to this district, and I know there's so much more that we can be for our students. I understand the challenge of developing a plan that brings comfort to everyone, and I recognize that we likely will not reach a final version that satisfies all perspectives. And while I cannot promise that every voice will agree with the outcome, I can promise this: I will always put students first. While there may be differing views on what that means, for me, it's clear. It means ensuring that all students, regardless of their zip code, have access to the high-quality education they deserve. That commitment will remain my unwavering focus, and so I thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dean, you have a comment?
I do. I want to repeat the concern that I've raised since the beginning of this discussion, and that is that the plan so far is limited to a discussion of space and facilities. Our greatest obligation is to provide a high-quality education and to remove any discrepancies among student groups relative to academic achievement. I still don't hear from the ERS plan or from the administration a plan for academic excellence. And until I hear that plan, you can count on my no vote on this project, on this plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Udine. All right, if there are no other comments, we will move on, since agenda item 17.03 has been pulled from the agenda. Item 17.04 is a new business item. This is a resolution to the district to participate in Alerta for the Caroline project and authorizing related agreements. Are there any questions or comments at this time on 17.04? And I believe, Mr. Joseph, this is the Oakland project? Yes, so this is for the several hundred units of student housing in Oakland. All right, seeing,
So moved.
thank you.
Second.
I was just about to get there, but thank you. Ms. Wilson and Ms. Silk. Mr. Weiss, can you please call the vote?
Parker,
Yes.
Petrowski,
I need to abstain on this item.
Dr. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Silk,
Yes.
Alfaro,
Yes.
Udine,
Abstain.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Yord,
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
That is approved, 7 yes, 2 abstentions.
Thank you. Item 17.05 is a new business item. This is a resolution for the district to participate in Alerta for the Dalian project and authorizing related agreements. This is the Lawrenceville kind of riverfront property for those who may have forgotten. Questions or comments on this?
So
Seeing
moved.
motion and a second. We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Thank you, Ms. Wilson and Mr. Barker. Mr. Weiss, please call the vote.
Parker,
Yes.
Petrowski,
Yes.
Dr. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Silk,
Yes.
Alfaro,
Yes.
Udine,
Abstain.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Yord,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Combined is approved, 8 yes, 1 abstention.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. That concludes the voting portion of our meeting. Are there any announcements by board members that do not require a legislative vote? Well, while I give Ms. Petrowski 2 seconds, I will note that our flag football team from Conroy participated in a national event in Nashville, Tennessee, and came home with the bronze medal. So congratulations to those young students and their coaches and their parents. And let's go win gold next year. All right. With no worries. No other further comments. I will have a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Talaferro and Ms. Petrowski. All those in favor, please say aye. Anybody want to stay? All right. This meeting stands adjourned. Everyone have a great evening and be safe if you're driving.